understand who killed the dog was.
Well, I just think...
Oh my god, man. I got a fucking phone call. Hold on, I gotta take this real quick. Shit.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Breuniverse. So, doing a little something different for this podcast. Mike, part of the podcast, had a little emergency, and you know what? It's weird how things work out, because literally yesterday on my Patreon page, I had an incredible 1-hour conversation with one of the Patreon members who, part of me thinks this guy should be a film. He's funny, he's entertaining, and he's a freaking, he's a pastor. So, I'm telling you, I highly suggest checking this out. It's entertaining, it's funny, a little thought-provoking. We're on the same field with a lot of things on my Patreon page. Once you sign up, and you get different podcasts and all that, you, the Patreon member, I allow you to be interviewer with me. So I've been doing that for a couple months. And this one in particular, I really, really enjoyed talking with. His name's Jay. He's a great conversation you're going to see. And then the very, very end, I will also show you what happened to me in Long Island, which was a great show and all that. We'll call it the Hurt situation. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed today's Breuniverse. We'll be back regular next week, although this is, I really enjoy what you're about to listen to. So great journey wherever you're going. Get your head out of the circus, okay? It's a circus, and it's getting louder and louder. I wish you all safe journeys. Check out the podcast with Jay.
All right.
Boom. What's happening?
Man. What is going on? Reverend Jim.
How are you? That's right. I am Reverend Jim. In the past, I've been called Reverend Big Calf. When I had my old radio show called Breuer Unleashed.
Is that right?
Yeah. So it all started, the whole Reverend thing started when we were doing it, me, Jimmy Shaka, and two other friends of mine. It was a whole thing going on where, I don't know, someone was in trouble on radio, and the guy apologized over and over. And then Reverend Al Sharpton said, apology's not good enough. And I said, what kind of guy that represents God says apologies, a sincere apology? You don't represent God. How do you become a reverend? And then I realized how Reverend Jackson, Reverend, you go right online, you become a reverend. So before the end of the show, I became a reverend. I said, all right, well, what should I call myself? Reverend what? Everyone used to make fun of my calves because they're so big from playing hockey when I was younger. So I became Reverend Big Calf. And then I started marrying people, but only people I know. So yes, Reverend is in the house.
Well, there you go. I've never been, I haven't been comfortable with those terms, Reverend, all those institutional terms. I've been a pastor for 35 years, and as you interact with the institution, you acquire titles and recognition from within the institution. But what I see in you, Reverend Jim, is a heart of a shepherd. You've been a shepherd most of your life.
I've heard that.
Yeah, you are a shepherding kind of person. You shepherd people. You shepherd your family. You shepherded many of the crew at Metallica. You are a shepherd of a coffee shop. Your screenplay is that's your church, and you're the shepherd of that coffee shop.
Yes, that's funny you say that. I mean, I rewrite that, but yes, that is what. To be honest with you, what I that's my most driving force in my life, to be quite honest with you, is to shepherd, nurse, and watch people just flourish. Watch them fly. Watch them with no expectations. One of the coolest things. It's not easy. You know, I feel like it's easy for me because I've crossed that path a long time ago. On years ago, rent out homes on the Outer Banks. Whoa, sorry. Hold on a second. I just fell. My contraption just fell apart. And that was fun.
I thought that was me for a minute.
No, that's all me. Here we go. Sorry about that. And it was like I knew no one could really afford it, so I rented the 2 homes, and I really did it with the intention of everyone being together and new relationships starting. I didn't care if no one said thank you. I didn't care if no one really was like, hey, why don't you come to our house? And hey, we really appreciate it. I didn't need a big everyone get together like, hey, let's really do something for Jim, considering he did this for us. And that's the big difference between giving, not caring, knowing why you're doing it. And it did. It kept a lot of family members close, and it kept these 2 bonded like they've never did before, and they became like soul cousins and blah blah blah.
So I love the script. I connected to it. I saw what I do, not so much as a institutional representative of a religious organization, but what I do in my heart is exactly what goes on in that coffee shop with various groups in the church and the community. There's an overlap. And you said something very profound, and you say a number of things that are profound, but one that really stood out to me was you mentioned this whole notion of this theological idea of where the rapture is going to come and just take people out of the world, save the church. The church in America is kind of just, they have an experience with God, then they're ready to go to heaven. And you said that you didn't really believe that you thought that actually hurt the church. You're absolutely right. The whole idea of the church has been the coffee shop. That was the original place for the church. And I'm a Methodist, and so our Methodist movement took place because the Anglican Church in England didn't want us. They didn't want the poor. They didn't want the coal miners. So John Wesley went out and he organized small groups across England and across Europe and then on into the Americas. And so my religious DNA is not an institution. It's small groups, and being able to do those kind of small groups. That's where, people get to know me for who I really am. Not the persona in a robe behind a pulpit that's separated from the people, but I have to live with them. This, like, you are vulnerable to the people in the coffee shop. They're going to know when you're lying to them. The other day, you had a guy named Romney on who sold you an automobile. I love that guy. Loved him. And so I wanted to show you, allegedly, I want to give you an idea about how we can adopt or auction off some redneck villages for those who are struggling to find their way out of New Jersey. I want to give you just a little bit of I think your father may have appreciated some of this right here. Could you see that?
Is that white grain?
Well, it's not water. Okay, it's not water.
It's not only water.
This is apple pie. Yeah. So there are some villages down here that know how to do that better than others. So we want to auction off. I think you need to auction off some redneck villages across West Virginia to some people who want to flee New Jersey. And some of us, we could add to the conversation. We do this a little bit better than other people. We got multiple flavors.
Some tells me we should have like a little Patreon gathering. I'd love to. I don't know what it is yet, but I'd love to come in your neck of the woods and figure.
Man.
There was Peyton up in Georgia. I remember first talking to you. This is our second time talking, correct?
That's right.
I'm not crazy. We talked way in the beginning,
Right.
And believe it or not, called Larry the cable guy,
Right.
talking with you, and I'm like, Larry, you should do this guy's life. This is Larry. I'm telling you, you got to play a preacher, and you got to sit down and talk with this guy that I just talked to. He's like, wow, Jim. All right, well, let's talk about it. And we went back and forth a couple times. So I was super excited when I saw you on again.
Man, I got some stories.
It was such a great conversation.
Well,
I'm sure you got some stories.
But let me tell you about these stories. I live for them. I look for them. I believe that these are God's greatest gifts to us. That I get up every morning with a sense of gratitude, with a sense of a love for life, just like you do. And I expect to have one of these great stories. Now, some of them are more moving and more they connect with people's brokenness. And those are very powerful stories. Like the many stories. I mean, you shared a story one time about sitting on a park bench just in isolation and the experience, the sensation you have with God. And that is, I have an embarrassment of riches in that way. I have just a sense that I'm just 30 seconds from the presence of God. I don't need a lot of the bells and whistles. And I say that very humbly, because I don't have the formula. I can't tell you the formula to do that. I just kind of live in it.
It's interesting you say that, because my wife comes from, when she was found God, found the Lord, really started wanting to go to church and all that jazz. There was a few things where we would see eye to eye. One of the first times, and I kind of try to put it in the script, but I don't want to harp on it too much, but I'll start with this story. So my oldest brother, who died, was very tragic. He died in his sleep, left three young boys, 16, 14, 11, my nephews. And my youngest one, praised life and God and everything, just had a child. I just talked to him yesterday, beautiful little girl. But when he died, I'll never forget, I don't care what anyone says, I know what I saw and I know what happened. I have nothing to say. I'm just telling you what happened. Some people say it's a dream. Some people say it's what you wanted to hear. It doesn't matter. It was the day of his funeral. We just came back and we were at my sister's house, and I was really tired, and I passed out on her bed. I said, I'm just going to take a quick nap. It was during the afternoon. So I took a nap. And while I was sleeping, Brother Ed came as clear as day, as colorful as the shirt you have on, beautiful colors behind him. I felt, the way to describe this, I felt like he was maybe at my Nana's house that I vaguely remember as a little boy. She was a blind one. It wasn't always great experience going over there, but I just couldn't figure out where he was. It was very green, it was very bright, and it was beautiful. And he was just standing there, and he started telling me without talking. We just had a full conversation like this. He said, Jim, look after the boys once in a while. Make sure the boys are okay. And I went, no, I will. I definitely will. And then he said, don't worry about Mom. She has you. But I can tell when he talked about the boys, something was gonna, like, nothing tragic, but I'm like, whoa, this is like, I really do need to check in with them. And don't worry about mom. She has you and she has the others. She's gonna be fine. She's gonna be fine. And then he goes, I gotta go. And I went, whoa, Ed, what about you? What about you? And he said, oh, I'm super. And he laughed. He said, super. And I felt that he was with his father, who we never met. It was a World War II thing. My mom's first child was born while her husband was in World War II and he got killed. Now, cut to the story I just told you. I wanted to keep the family together. It was years later. These ones weren't talking to that one. These ones got problem. This one, everyone's got something going on, whether it's addictions or whatever. So I rent these 2 homes out, and during this trip, one of those boys were on that trip. 2 of the boys were, but one was not talking to the oldest of my. So I have the 3 nephews, the oldest, the middle, the youngest. The oldest in the middle had a major bad blowout, and it was very heartbreaking. And it was one morning, I'll never forget this. That morning, I went on the beach before anyone got up, and there was a big fog. It was very foggy, North Carolina, Outer Banks, and I could see the sun through the fog. And I wanted to stop, and I stopped and I prayed and I said, God, I always go, God, Jesus. I go, Eddie, I'll never forget. I went, you know what's going on. And I beg that I have the opportunity to say what you would want them to hear, and how to talk to them. So I know this bothers you. I'm not sure the right thing to say, but if you can just, when the moment comes, if you can just help me through it, right? I'm not on my kids' lives, on my life. That's what I always do. And then I turn like a movie. I turn, and as I turn, why did that damn light turn off? Wow, there's some weird energy extraterrestrials going on here. As I turn, oh, it unplugged. Bro, that's weird. That's twice now, and I'm ready to get into some heavy stuff. Hold on. What an anticlimactic thing just happened. Boom, boom, boom. As I turn, the kid who's full-blown party maniac. He's a party maniac. He hasn't healed himself. He's walking out of the fog with his wife holding hands, and I'm going, well, this kid hasn't seen anything before 11 a.m. in 10 years. What the hell is he doing up? No one on the beach. And he was walking out of the freaking fog. And I said, Ed, what are you doing up? And he goes, hey, Uncle Jim. Yeah, I just want to go for a walk on the beach. And all of a sudden he stops and he goes, me and Chris aren't talking, right? And I just started laughing inside, and I went, Ed, I said, if you knew what I just did, and I'm a little freaked out that I'm seeing you right now. I'm a little. He goes, why is that? I went, I'm not gonna get into the whole thing. And then we talked. The words that came out of me, the philosophy that came out of what happened when his dad passed, and how all 3 of you were in a certain part of time. And you have to understand, your older brother is always he only knows this is part of dad. So he's always going to he's going to wear a tie, and he's going to be very educational, and he's going to be right to the point, and everything's a fact, where you were here and you were in a struggle. And so I go, so don't take it personally. Anyway, long story short, we had this long conversation on the beach. It was so amazing and healing. And then it turns out, I'm gonna cry. I think it was a week later, all of them, boys were like, we're going to a Mets. We decided let's just all go to a Mets game, just brothers. And that was the beginning of them constantly being in touch again. Now, what I'm getting at was, I told my wife this, and this was a time where I took great offense to it, and we got in a little bit of a tiff. So I told her, like, D, you're not gonna believe this, but I'm praying to God and Eddie, and she goes, you're not supposed to do that. I said, I'm not supposed to do what? You're not supposed to talk to anyone but Jesus God. I went, D, can you let me it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, whoever needs to hear me heard me and understands where I'm at and where my conscience is, and whoever it was understood it, and whatever it was understood it. She goes, yeah, but she's starting a debate like, you're not supposed to talk to your brother because your brother. I'm like, can you look at overall what happened?
Yeah.
Coincidence or whatever, rather than going, I wasn't supposed to do this and I wasn't supposed to do that. And that happened maybe one other time. And that's where I feel people in the structural church world, whatever, they harp on too much of, there's a rule here, and they interpret the rule a certain way. And I feel like that could do more harm to them or others. And I feel like it's just something that doesn't need to be debated. And that's why it makes me wonder how much power humanity truly has with spiritual God existence, because before this establishment came. And what better way to infiltrate her humanity by creating all these little forums, and we're Catholic and we're this and we're that and we're this and we're that. And I'm like, well, because there was no money involved. There was zero money involved. Wouldn't be a lot of debating. But once money is involved, I have to investigate everything. Like, I just went to a church my wife wanted me to go to. And as soon as we sat down, the guy gave 15 minutes on Ukraine. And I went, he showed pictures, like, all right, I'm done. We need to build, and we need to send money, and we need to a certain amount of acres so we can expand. And that's where I'm lost. I'm like, what?
Well,
why don't we worry about your backyard?
Well, I will not presume to defend D or I can just share out of my own experience, right? Because I
and that's what I like. That's what I like.
I entered into the church as somebody that immediately wanted out of it. I mean, in 1987, I am someone that felt a call into ministry, but I hated people. I didn't want to be around people. I didn't care about anybody but myself. But I couldn't deny what I was experiencing spiritually because it was way too real, right? I'm a cynic. I don't believe in anything. I don't trust anybody. All right. So that's my default position. I don't trust my parents. I don't trust anybody. And then I've had these experiences with God as a child that I cannot deny. I cannot deny them. So I'm kind of locked in. I'm trapped, right? I'm sort of trapped.
Yeah.
And I have that sense of being trapped, that God has pinned me to a wall and I don't like it. And so, but at the same time, there's this invitation to be a part of what God's doing. And the church is a vehicle for me to do that. Now I've realized that so many of our churches so I want to give you a scenario. Imagine your coffee shop 50 years from now, right? 50 years. A lot of the originals are gone, but their kids have come, and that coffee shop has a spiritual aura and a tradition to it. And yet many of the original people there that were there, they're not there to remind those that are meeting in that coffee shop exactly why they're meeting, right? So the coffee shop becomes more of the centerpiece of their purpose rather than the relationships. And what's happened in the church is that churches were being built, and the original people who built the churches built churches for a particular purpose, to educate their children. They were a lot of different things. There were doctors' offices and a lot of things, but over time, those original people have died, and the buildings and the property have become focal points of worship. It's the idolatry that's transformed the church. The church we forgot our purpose. We forgot our purpose. So, have you ever heard of a cargo cult? A cargo cult. It's a sociological description. Back in the World War II, a bomber crashed on an island in the Pacific, and there were natives there, and these natives were watching these Allied pilots crawl out of a B-17 or whatever it was, and they pulled the radio out and they radioed for help, and a plane flew over and dropped supplies, and then a boat came and picked them up. And these natives had never seen what they were seeing was a big giant bird with people in it, and they were doing a dance, and this dance then initiated food dropping from the sky. Well,
wow.
Missionaries, you can look this up. Missionaries showed up, other people showed up, and there were religions created out of this thing. They made thatch huts looking like airplanes. And they would dress in Mae West kind of looking vests and speak into a box. They were mimicking what they were seeing, thinking that was the way that they would get food to be dropped from the sky, right? So I'm telling you, that's
such common sense. It's something you would never think of. Go ahead. That's amazing. Fascinating. You're right.
Very fascinating, right? And so what happens when the church, when good people, they've hydroplaned, they've just lifted up just enough. They're no longer connected to what their original purpose was. They're hydroplaning. They seem to be going in the right direction, but they're out of control. And so they're hydroplaning down through culture, and they're disconnected from their relationship purposes, right? And so now they're kind of trapped and caught up into this cargo cult of mimicking what a generation did before. And there's no power to it. And it becomes desperate. You become easy prey for, the power hungry and the wealthy and the greedy, all the predators that are out there, right? It's the relationships. And what you've got in its beauty and its rawness is really what the church is all about in your coffee shop. But what you lack in that coffee shop's me. You need me in that coffee shop, because I'm a translator between D and you. I'm a translator between you two. I can help translate between the two of you, because you're a translator between you and your children. You're a translator between you and D. You're a translator between you and the other coffee shop. But you need a translator, because what I would say to D, I respectfully, because I don't know her, right? But instead of saying, you can't talk to this saint, or you can't talk, I would say, listen, the grace of God is so powerful. It's an undertow. And when you desire health and wholeness and love, that undertow is a part of God's grace, right? And so the notion that we have to be intellectually aware of God's grace before we can receive it is counterintuitive to everything the Bible teaches. God's grace is present because you don't know about it. There's an undertow of grace that pulls you. Now, do we have more to learn? Absolutely. You know, have I done really stupid things as a preacher? What time is it? I just lifted up I've got gallons of this stuff. Gallons of this stuff. but I trust the goodness of God in spite of me, right? And so I may not have all the words right, but my heart can harmonize with God's heart. It can be a harmony. May not be the same language, but there's a harmony there, right? And I just have to live in that because I'm not capable, man. I'm telling you, I'm just not capable. If I had to learn all the rules and regulations, I would spend my entire life trying to learn them.
Right.
You just got to do it. You just got to get out there and do it. Right? You're going to fumble around.
It's so weird because I've had a magnetic pull forever. Especially last week, even up until right now, talking to you, where in my head, I'm so confused of how to just like, why don't you just do a service for 15 minutes online? Why don't you just tell a story about this? Well, and then I get the other voice going, no, dummy, you're already doing it. You have did it. When you say funny how God works, believe it or not, you are doing something. And there's thousands of people watching it. You don't have to do every blah, 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 blah. The people that, right. So that's my torment too, because I'm so used to a format. Every Friday we're going to do this, or every Sunday we're going to do this, or blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling you, it's been driving me crazy for 20 years because I feel like I can help so many. And then when I was doing the band thing, the bassist, Joe, he studied theology, and he's like, Breuer, Jesus he just talked. He went on a mountain. He just started talking. He goes, what stops you from doing that? And I went, I don't know. Like, where's the audience? He goes, don't come. Don't worry about it. Just put it out there. Once you put it out there, it's out there, and it'll be found out one day or another. And I thought that was, but I do live in, like, right now.
Yeah.
I'd love to, and maybe I should talk to you about it. I'm trying to create boring with the whole funny how God works, and I just don't know how to structure the whole thing. I have the stories. I want to structure it the right way. In my head, it's the perfection of it's got to look like this, and this has got to be in the background while I tell the story. Blah, 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 and you need the thing. And then there's, well, where do you do that? Do you go to churches? Do you do it online? Do you do this? Do you do
no,
that?
God, no, don't go to churches. Do not go to churches. Do not go to church. You listen, you cannot go to those deserted islands and talk those people into giving up their thatch airplanes. You're not going to do it.
That's
for the love of God.
It's such a great analogy. It really is such a great analogy.
Dude, that's a calling that's unique in and of itself, right? So I'm a specialist. I go into churches that have a lot of conflict. And one of the greatest gifts, and I say this with great humility and sensitivity, that the whole last couple of years has been terrible for many, many people. But for the church, one of the great things for our church has been our church had to do church outside. We had to be, we were dumped out of our sanctuaries, these little closed cubicles of huddle and cuddle, warm and fuzzy, which I hate all of that anyway. But now we had to go out under a tent. We had to go find an awning. We had to go find a pavilion someplace. And we had to do church literally outside. And what that did for my church, it set us free. Now we kind of walked away from the cargo cult of altars and stained glass windows and stuff we really don't even understand, but it's supposed to be religious, so we do it. Now we were outside when it was cold. right? And people could see us,
Yeah.
and we kind of we didn't, we don't have incense anyway, but nothing was controlled. The environment was not kept, maintained. We're out in the wild. It's like the honeybee problem, right? Honeybees are dying. We can't keep hives alive. And much of that has to do with pesticides, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that we treat bees like cows. We use them and in mass production to pollinate the almond trees in California. We lose a lot of hives because bees are supposed to be feral. They're supposed to pollinate more than just one type of plant. Bees are supposed to live in the wild. They're not pets. You can't herd them up. Well, guess what?
Right.
Christians, if we have to be feral, we have to be wilderness ready. Our message has to be lived not in a sanctuary, but in the coffee shops. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I know exactly what you're saying. I love where you come from, and you're gonna make me hit the script again hard tonight, because I rewrote the beginning, and I'm keeping all the message and everything all the same, but that was the original reason. Like, I already have the end of the season, and it's just like you said, it really is, but said in a different way. The whole end of this, I shouldn't tell you the end, but actually, no, I will tell you, because it's going to be in the next read through. The opening minute starts, which was a true story. We were all together. There was about 12 men at one table, and all the wives were at the other table. And we were in this little tiny restaurant, and we were running amok. It's in New Jersey. It's bring your own booze. So not only did we have our own bar set up, everyone that walked in, we were like,
on my way. I'm on my way. I'm on my way.
You're invited. So every new people walked in, we're like, what's going on here? We're like, to the new people. I mean, it was crazy. And then we started the staff, like, come here, hey, what's your name? And my name is Pedro. There's a little guy named Pedro. And we're like, Pedro, you want a shot? And he'd look around like, don't worry about it. I'll go talk to your boss. And the staff started drinking, the cooks. Everyone's having, it's such a great moment in time. Now I'm looking at this long table. I'll never forget it. And I'm sitting next to a guy named Basil. And Basil has this long bone. He's sucking up. We all make fun of him. We all make fun of him because he just sucks everything off, the fat, everything. And I'm looking at Paul the landscaper, this guy who travels the world. This guy is a fireman. This one plays for Vanilla Fudge. It was just such a diverse group. And I'm sitting there, and I looked at Basil, and I went, isn't this is amazing that we all, I mean, look, we hang out all the time. No one ever talks that this is amazing. How's this? And the wives, even the wives get on. And he said to me, it was one of the most profound things. He's got a big bone. He goes, and he looks at me with a thick Jersey accent. He goes, you know why everyone gets along? Because no one thinks who they are. That's why. And I went, everything just froze, and I went, God, that's the most simplest statement. So that's how the show starts. And you're like, whoa, why did that start like that? And then it's just gone. We're beginning going into the coffee shop and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, whoa. So some of these characters you're not even going to know don't enter to the third, fourth episode or towards the very end. Like, how did we get to that? And then what I want to do is end the episode as being the finale of how this group came together, which still is such a...
That's God's choreography. That's God's pollination. The fact that you all are so diverse, there's a purpose in the relationships, and that is how you affect each other. That's the beauty of the church, right? I mean, so but every coffee shop can become its own cargo cult.
Yes.
You have to be
Yes.
very careful, because over time you settle in, right? And you start thinking there's something magic on the bones that you're sucking on, right? There's something magic.
Yeah. Right.
Don't suck on the magic bones. Do not suck on the magic bones.
So cool. They're all literally, there was a whole group of them that just left, and they took their first big group trip. They're all in Italy right now. There's about half them in Italy. They went for 2 weeks because Maria is from Italy. So we went over there, and like we were talking about renting a castle in Ireland. There's so much more. It's just amazing. So
one of the things too, I want to just celebrate what I see in you as a shepherd to a shepherd, is that what you do, Jim. It's not just the humor. It's not just your vulnerability, but I think it's your willingness to let those people go. You're not going to try to trap them in. It's not like this is your group, right? It's not. It's a group that kind of self-organizes for a time. It's a season. You do ministry. You reach out to a broken guy who's in your midst that can easily be ignored. You kind of organize around that, and you enjoy each other. But then you kind of break apart. You don't form a cargo cult around those relationships, right? You allow them to be free, right? So these relationships have to be feral. This is another trap of the church. Another trap of the church is that we try to, once we lure you in, it's like the Hotel California. You can't leave. And the devil is right outside. I mean, look.
Right.
And the whole point of the church is that we are vibrant and alive when we are poured out into the community, when we have the freedom to build these relationships with people. And so we have a lot of cargo cults in the United States. A lot of denominations are cargo cults. So we build altars. We really don't know what they're for. We've got a lot of stuff that if we just dance around it enough, an airplane will fly over and drop food with a parachute.
That never gonna feel. That is such a great story, an analogy, and it just makes all the sense in the world. It's really that simple. It's that simple that people don't understand when they don't see big pictures, and I'm boggled how many people really they don't understand simplicity and how just simple things are either good or evil. It's like, no, you don't go. I'm telling you, that's evil.
And when you go to a church and they have that cargo cult mentality, and you start telling them that this thatched thing is something that you made, let's not try to reenact that event to manipulate the gods, but let's grow some food together. Let's do some things rather than. And when you start trying to take a person's faith from them, that's a dangerous thing, right? I mean, you have to realize that you are going, no matter how wonderful you are, no matter how educated you are, no matter who you are going to be the asshole of that event, right? Because you are telling them that they cannot. You're saying that what you've created is a reflection of you and not of God. And look out. You are the worst. Jesus was killed for the same reason. John chapter 2, Jesus said, I've come. He contrasted himself with the temple of the Jews. He said, I'm the living temple. And they went, I don't think so.
Right.
And Jesus said, watch this.
This son bitch has got to go. He's causing problems, Charlie. He's causing a lot of problems. He's screwing up our democracy.
So let me
danger to our democracy.
All right, so listen, my sister, she wanted me to tell you one of my stories. I've got some stories.
I know you do. I think we have to do a whole series on your stories, to be quite honest with you.
So I'm going to let you pick one. All right. There's one story I entitled The Chinese Demon. The other story is Mistaken Identity. And then the other story is a trip that I took with some old people to go view the leaves in Kentucky, in the mountains of Kentucky. And that's my peanut story. So Mistaken Identity, Chinese Demon, or Peanut. Peanut was he's a Vietnam veteran.
Wow.
Let the spirit speak to you.
I think the Chinese demon, I don't know if it's the name or whatever, or the demon or whatever. It's got my curiosity.
Okay,
I mean,
here we
they
go.
all have my curiosity. So go ahead.
This is the exact truth. I'm not going to
I
exaggerate
believe you.
at all. All right, so I'm in northern Kentucky. I'm going to seminary. I'm driving from near Carrollton, Kentucky, which is 40 minutes south of Cincinnati, all the way to Wilmore, Kentucky, which is 30 minutes south of Lexington. I'm doing that 4 times. I'm doing that every day, 4 days out of the week. I'm exhausted. I'm pastoring a church. Henry County, Kentucky is tobacco farming, right? So you have some very wealthy people and everybody else, and some Mexicans, mostly illegals. This is in the early 90s. So I'm pastoring a church, and I'm trying to get to know the people. So I'm learning how to do tobacco farming. I'm out there, just trying to get to know everybody, because you can't meet anybody in church. So I'm out there meeting Wendell Berry, the great environmentalist poet, lives in that community. I just about killed him. I about ran him down in the middle of the road one day. Wendell Berry. And I've got this love-hate relationship with a bunch of old, crusty Kentucky football and basketball fans that show up at the stinking hardware store every freaking day. And I go over there before I get in my little Geo Metro and drive God knows how many miles. I go over there and stir them up. I cause untold hell. Whatever team they hate is my favorite team. And so I raise hell with these old men. They want me dead. So I make bets all the time with them about who's going to win what. I love them. I just cause them joy. So, and I know they're out to get me, right? So I have this suspicion, something's going on. I get a phone call right after church, this deputy sheriff. And he says, preacher, what are you doing? I said, I'm getting ready to go play volleyball. He said, do you have a big cross? I said, what are you talking about? He said, yeah, you need to have a big cross. You need to get a big cross, and you need to go down to this guy's house. I said, what, you got a vampire problem? What are you talking about? He said, listen, there's a Mexican at Kevin and Bonnie's house, and he's demon possessed. He's writhing on the ground like a serpent. He's barking, he's howling. And he said, I went down there, and he said, I couldn't do anything. So you need to get your big cross down there and do something. And I'm thinking, are you out of your mind? This is the biggest joke. This is going to go on video.
Right.
This is a scam. Right. Shut up.
Yeah.
His name was Officer Sanders. Right. I said, Sanders, shut up. I'm not going down there. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. He's never really called me. I don't think he's a part of the conspiracy, right? So I got to go now. I got to go now and see what's going on. So I drive down. Kevin and Bonnie, wonderful people, not well educated. Bonnie thought she knew Spanish when she added the letter O at the end of words. She'd say, could you go to the store, and buy some milk, O? She thought she was speaking Spanish. But they're wonderful people, do anything in the world for you. And they would house Mexicans, in their home and work the tobacco fields, And so I said, well, I got to go down there now. So I pull up, and I'm kind of looking around, and I don't know what's going on. And I'm looking for a crowd of people, right? I don't see anybody. And I'm looking out around the houses around, and I see curtains doing this kind of thing. People are watching me, and I'm thinking, I don't know. This doesn't feel good, because Kevin knows me. He could have come and got me. But I'm here. I'm here. And I prayed like you. I said, God, what is going on? You know, that was my prayer. What is going on with this? Because
I go with them. Yeah.
what is happening? And so, and I'm praying, and all of a sudden, a big black Cadillac pulls up out of nowhere. And these four big, what I found out later, Baptist preachers get out. I mean, it looked like a funeral Cadillac. It was a huge Cadillac. They pull up, get out, walk up the steps, and go right into the house. And I thought, well, if that Mexican's going to kill some people, he'll kill the Baptists first. I'll fall in behind them, you know, and see what's going on.
Right.
So I just kind of got in line. I got in the parade. I go in there. Kevin is chain smoking in the kitchen, just chain smoking. He's white as a ghost. So I knew something weird was happening. There was another guy. I found out he was a bilingual student from another seminary in Louisville, and he looked like he'd been beat up. He had his head on the table. I'm thinking, that's weird. And the four preachers kind of filtered to the house, and all of a sudden I see a little Mexican. I bet he's not 5 foot tall. And he's kind of growling and barking and hissing and making kind of weird. And I'm standing behind the couch, right? I'm thinking, what is all this? Is this real? Is this for real?
Right.
And so
is this a way to get out of work? Like what's going on here?
This is way too complex for a hoax, just for stupid old me, right? So I'm thinking, this is something that at least the people that are here think it's real. So I go, Kevin, I said, what is going on? He said, man, this Mexican, he lost his mind and he tried to bite me and he barks and hissing around. And I said, he's 5 foot tall. He doesn't weigh 100 pounds. You're 250 pounds. He said, yeah, but he's possessed. I said, well, what does that mean? I said, what did you do? He said, I pushed him in the bathroom and locked him up. And I called this guy and they tried to talk to him. And I said, well, did you talk to him? He said, no, he's not said a word in English or Spanish or anything the whole time I've been here. They were there for like 48 hours. I'm like, what in the crap? So these Baptist preachers are kind of moving around, and they're talking to each other. And about 30 minutes into it, maybe a little bit longer, the older Baptist preacher, he stands up and he goes, I'm tired of the devil making a mockery of God's people. And these big guys, I mean, look like an offensive line. You know, these big Baptist preachers, they grabbed this little Mexican, pinned him to the ground, and the oldest Baptist preacher, the one that's kind of leading the thing, he started praying, and he said, all right, devil, tell me what your name is. And that Mexican pinned to the ground said, F you. And I said, well, that must be a Chinese demon. And they turned and looked at me like, you're next. We're getting ready to cast the devil out of you next. And I said that out loud before I caught myself, you know? And I said, oh my God. So they got this guy pinned down and nothing happened, right? I mean, this guy didn't say anything else in Spanish. Just that was the only thing he identified. He's a Chinese demon. So this went on for another 30 minutes or so. And I said, Kevin, we're all going to go to jail. You know, you do know this, right? I mean, we got to do something. This is going to end up terrible. And we got to do something. I said, I said, get your truck. I said, which of your trucks got gas? He said, okay. He said, the Toyota. I said, good. I said, listen, I'm going to distract these guys. And then we're going to sneak him out. And we're going to go to the hospital. And so I called my wife. I said, honey, bring my guitar down here. And she brought my guitar. And I said, listen, guys, we need to praise the Lord. We need to start singing hymns. And we just need to really connect. Right now, the energy is kind of negative. Nothing's happening. So let's create an atmosphere of worship. So they started singing, and we snuck him out the back door and took him to Our Lady of Peace. And come to find out, now this is where the story gets a little weird. This is weird.
Wait a minute. This is the weird part.
Yeah,
I never even saw the movie where like, hey, we got a possession demon. Quick, get my guitar. Give me Give me an accordion, a guitar, and some synthesizers immediately. I don't need a drummer yet. Let's do this. Wow. Okay.
Bring all the cockatoos. Bring all the cockatoos out here.
Right.
And so she brought him down, and I handed him the guitar, and those guys started singing. And I said, we got to get this guy out of here. And we take him down there. They admitted, and within 72 hours, they'd released him. What had happened is another Mexican had put a curse on him. You know, I don't know, cut a chicken's head off, threw it in the back of his truck or whatever, and told him that he was under a curse. So this guy, every time he went to sleep, he told me and Kevin, he said, every time I go to sleep, I dreamed that my mother and my father and my brothers and sisters were stabbing me with knives. And he said I'd wake up just terrified, screaming. And basically he had a lack of REM sleep. He had a lack of sleep psychosis. And that turned into other things, right? And when you only have a cargo cult mentality, everything looks like,
wow.
Now I'm not, listen, I believe in the demonic, and I've got other stories. And the demonic wasn't in his manifestation. It was in the fear and the shame that he was put under the curse. That was
right. Someone just mentally got in his head, and then once it's in there, that happens in everyday life. Everyday life.
It happens every day at the news. Every newscast is somebody cutting a chicken's head off and throwing it in your front living room.
Dude, Jay, you couldn't have said that any better. You're absolutely right. Every day is just, and then they throw it and they go, no, here's what you're going to be thinking. And sure enough, they're off to the races. Just like the airplane has landed. We're waiting for the peanuts to come out of the sky. Wow.
We got to dance a little harder.
We gotta take guns away. We gotta get our picket signs about pro-life or pro-choice. We gotta take handguns away. Oh my God. This is, dude, you nailed it. You nailed it on such a, so simple. And isn't it amazing how people will see these possessed, however you want to define it. But wow, that's a great freaking story. That's a great story.
You picked the worst one of the three.
Well, we're gonna have to listen. We're gonna have another one. Definitely gonna have another one because I love talking to you. So I want to hear what the next two are, and if you're okay with it, we'll set up. Yeah, no, because I really enjoyed talking with you. And this is God. You got me in a whole different way.
I'm totally sober. I haven't drank any of this. I haven't drank any of it. Hey, let me tell you what my brother-in-law did. Real quick. My brother-in-law, I went to his refrigerator one time. I was looking for some popsicles or something. He had one of these filled with berries, like blackberries. And I said, what is that? He said, oh, that's my blackberries. He said, I'm preserving blackberries. And I didn't think that he was preserving it in moonshine, right? I said, so can I have a few of those blackberries? He said, yeah. Well, those blackberries are 110 proof. I mean, a little blackberry is equivalent to a shot. I mean, so I'm like 3 blackberries in and I'm ready to preach. You know, I'm ready to go.
Jay, aren't you in Virginia or like somewhere around there?
Yeah, I'm on the border between Virginia and West Virginia. Yeah.
I'm seriously gonna try to pick something where I come your way. Do a hang. I got 1 or 2 people that might really be cool in doing that. Even if it's just me, I think I'd really, really want to do that. And I'll talk with Evan. And we'll get a date and all that. I think that would be a lot of fun. I could definitely hang for a while. That would be just amazing.
I told you, if we ever get together, we're going to get in some Jesus trouble. You know, the kind of trouble that Jesus got into. We're going to get in that. I
like it. I really, really feel blessed that I got to talk to you today because you inspired and you brought some whole new light, completely new light, and new vision of looking at certain things. I really, this is the second time I talked to you, and good God, I feel great both times, and I can't wait to do this again. I cannot thank you enough, and obviously, it's meant to be.
Sure. Yeah. Now,
We know
my
that.
wife said, she goes, please do not tell him you're going to take your shirt off. Please do not tell him. I'm going to get sexy here in a minute.
How long have you married?
Huh?
Married?
Yeah. My wife, we've been married since 1989.
Oh, wow. You got a couple years in D&I. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. The last time we ended, remember? I told you, I said my wife, she lost the bet. I won the bet, so I was going to go upstairs, take my shirt off, get sexy. Somebody's getting pregnant, right? Remember that?
somebody's gonna get pregnant.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And Kelly goes, "Oh my God, I'm the pastor's wife. What are you doing? What are you doing?"
Jay, be safe, brother. God bless. I cannot thank you enough. This has been nothing but a joy for me.
Oh man,
it really
anytime.
has.
Come
I
on
look
down,
forward to-
Reverend Jim. Come on down,
I'm
Reverend
getting
Jim.
the address. I'm getting the
Okay.
address. As a matter of fact, look, I think I'm playing. How far are you from Virginia Beach? How far from Virginia Beach are you?
Quite a ways.
Like 4 or 5 hours?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll make I know what I'm doing if I got nothing around it or to try to figure something out. So I look forward to meeting you in person.
You get to meet my children, my family, all of it.
Cool. All right, Jay, be good. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Such a great time. Later, brother. Bye. I was in Long Island last weekend with Joe Sib and Monty. Is Monty here too? How you doing?
Oh, good. How are you?
You look different thing going on. You look very relaxed out there in California.
Oh, yeah. This is my relaxing time. This is what I do when I'm not stuck in traffic in Hertz parking lots with you. I relax.
This is what cracks me up. I don't know if it's the Australian. Monty's a big guy. Monty's, how are we?
How dare you? I've been trying to watch my weight, and you go and throw that out there in the first minute.
Wait, what are you like? You're 6'2" or something? 6'1"?
I think I'm somewhere between 6'1" and 6'2". I think it fluctuates.
Okay. Depending on the sneakers. So Monty's a big guy, and he's on it, right? And he's in shape. And funny thing about you, Monty, is whenever you're mad, the accent throws me off because it's such a kind accent. So, so I don't know. Like sometimes I don't know if you're serious or not. So we're in the line, and I think Monty has seen me a couple times now lose my shit in a car. I think you've seen me lose my shit at least 2 or 3 times. Which
Yeah, this was different though. This was better. I said it to Sid as soon as you got out of the car. I've never seen Jim get so New York so quickly. It was the best. The way you walked over to the car, it was different, and I'm like, oh, he's going back to his teenage roots where he used to fight people at the ball game. I don't know what to do.
And I'm not proud of this side of me. I'm really not proud of this side of me. It just tells me this still exists. Like I can be in Florida and get cut off and go off the road. And I'm like, hey man, everyone has a tough day. You know, you weren't paying attention. It's all good. The minute right? You having the psychedelics just kicking?
Having an episode, sorry.
So the minute I get there, it's this angst. But in due defense, you'd agree there was a nice system going on there. We were far behind, and then each car would come in, and then all of a sudden, this van comes beating up one of the aisles, cuts in front of everyone, and tries to get right in front of the line.
It was the
And-
selfishness that triggered all of us off, because everyone was being cordial in that zipper effect we were all doing. It was like a zipper. So 1, 1, 1. Everyone was going, okay, this is what we're doing. We're all stuck. Everyone's been there for 40 minutes. And then this one van comes up and thinks, no, I'm going to push to the front of the line. You know, when someone on an airplane tries to push their way out and you just want to smash them in the face? That's what the feeling was. It's, come on, we know the rules. Play by them.
Right. And this is these people in the van, and I don't care who you are. You thought this out. You thought, you know what, I ain't dealing with this. I'm going to front. A lot of people will beep their horn. They might give me the finger. But in today's society, this is back to what I was talking about before. Everyone has become meek. Everyone has become, just let it happen. You know, that's the way it is. You get assholes. No, you gotta make a stand. Guy zooms in the front, and I contemplated for like 20 seconds. I went, now. I don't know what happened. I get out of the car, Yosemite Sam, dun 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 dun, and I lost my shit. I went, I don't even remember what I said. You know, we've been waiting here for 40 minutes, and you don't get to cut. And I'm F-bombing. Fuck you, fucker. You're gonna back your fucking car. You ain't. And they said something like, I'm in a hurry. Oh, well, doctor's in a hurry. We're all in a hurry. But you don't get, who do you think you are that you get to? And then there was a woman in the back. Now, here's the little thing. They were all Hasidic Jews. Now, the reason I bring that up is not because it's a slanter against Hasidic Jews. It's once I realized they were Hasidic Jews, I made a conscious decision. Like, do I continue? I'm like, you know what? I don't care if they're Jewish, if they're black, if they're I don't care what they are. I don't care if they're born again Christians. This has nothing against Hasidic Jews and their lifestyle and their beliefs. It has everything to do with these people in this car, no matter what they were assholes. And so many people get away with being assholes by the cover of, no. You're either an asshole, no matter what your outfit, no matter what your belief, whatever, or you're not an asshole. So this individual or individuals were assholes. So I said, you're being an asshole. And there was a woman in the back, and she was like, excuse me. I went, excuse me, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to him, the driver. So, well, sure enough, they sped and they did a quick 360 turn. It was like, and the coolest thing was immediately the car down one of the aisles rolled down his window and he went, thank you very much. And a couple other cars did. And I'm like, I think society is waiting for that. We should be done with the assholes. Someone's got to start stepping up. I don't know why my Hertz thing is turned into a world event now. But the funniest, though, you went into Hertz to go get help.
Well, because they only had one booth going. There's 4 booths that could have been letting people out. And they had one guy working who looked like he was, cleaning the toilets 20 minutes earlier, and they said, "Oh, Kenneth, go out and man the booth." He didn't know what he was doing, and you could see him like shaking as people were handing their thing. He's going, "Oh!" He was taking, what do you reckon,
mess.
5-6 minutes per car? I think we were counting something like that, right?
At least,
Yeah.
because we were timing it. Like, all right, we're going to be here like an hour, 15 minutes. It is what it is.
So
It is what it is.
I said, all right, I'm going to go in and just get them to bring someone else out. So I walked in. I had a little bit of Yosemite Sam about me, but not as much as you did. But I did. I did kind of go, I'm going to tell them what I think. I'm going to tell these people how I feel. And I walked in. It was funny. When I walked in, it looked like, I don't know. It looked like they were a bunch of school kids that had just been yelled at by the principal, because it seemed like the workers weren't the real workers in there. Like they were just the temp workers or something. And I'm like, oh, these people already look terrified. They're obviously having a bad time. And I said, you got to get someone else out to man the booth. They've gone, we just rang the manager. He's on his way to do it. Like they were terrified. And then I looked around where the van was of the people that you just got all New York on. And the van, I'm not kidding, the van had one wheel up on the curb of the in front of the Hertz rent-a-car. All of the doors were open, like the van's back doors were full open. The front doors were open and just left open. And I looked, and the guy driving the car was pushing his elderly father in a wheelchair, and the woman who was in the back had all the luggage, and they were sprinting towards the terminal. And I don't know what they were doing, but it looked like they had just come in from, I don't know, overseas perhaps. And the first instance they had in America was Jim Breuer getting New York on him in the parking lot. And they're like, oh, let's just go back. We don't need this. I just went and flew on. But I thought about it later, and I suspect that they just said, oh, we'll go and get a taxi. We don't need this. But I swear that it looked like a bank robbery after you leave the getaway car. Like it was just left.
It was, and again, I'm not proud of it. And then we went to a batting cage like the next day. And as we were leaving, one of my friends was going the other way, and then the car behind him started beeping at him. And again, I was like, shut up, you this and that, shut up. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get out of here. Why? I thought
it must just be ingrained in you to when you get back in and you smell those old smells and stuff, and your brain just goes, oh, that's right, you snap. Because that guy in the car went outside the batting cages did the same thing. He pulled up and just immediately just went, and you went, and I was just there going, he just I think
we were barking at each other. Two wild dogs. We were it was great.
I think it's great. It reminds me of kind of the mentality in Australia, because people don't let people get away with things. They'll go, call people out, yell at them, swear at them, stuff like that. But they're also the same people that will immediately in a bar or something go, hey, you want a drink to a random stranger? It's on one hand, and it's, hey, we're all friends here. So it's just an interesting.
It's a great dynamic, and I feel like we've lost a lot of that, and maybe we can bring it back somehow. We don't need the violent part. Maybe we just stay loud and barking, but it just is what it is. Overall, though, you felt good about those sets. We had a good time. In Long Island. Those were
that might have been the best weekend of comedy I think I've ever had. Like so much fun and laughs, and we just that room is incredible. The Paramount. Yeah, kidding me? Come on! I started talking like you guys. It was fun. The sets were great, and the food was incredible, and that Kevin at the Paramount was awesome. All the staff were great. It was just that's the fun weekends of comedy. The other ones where you're stuck in, I don't know, Dayton, Ohio in a shitty comedy condo and you're by yourself and stuff. You're like, all right, I do this, but sometimes you get to do the real fun ones when there's a group of comedians and we all gel together and we play bocce and, Just fun stuff.
I forgot about that. Well, I had a great weekend with you, and I hope I'll have the footage done soon. I filmed everyone. From what I understand, it came out really good, and I'm glad you were around, and we'll catch up. We'll catch up sooner or later. I hope the movie's doing all right. I know for people that don't know, Monty wrote a movie. I could talk about it or no?
Sure. Yeah, we're filming next year. We're actually going to film some parts later this year. So it's it's been in the works for a while, as movies do. It stems from one of my stand-up jokes, and I wrote it with Rob Schneider and John Cleese, and we're filming next year in Australia. We got Jim Jeffries in it, Reese Darby, and it's going to be exciting. I'm starring in this thing. It's the first first thing I've done, and I'm starring in this like $15 million movie. So
Well, that's awesome. That's a huge budget too. That's a big budget for a film, especially if it's your first one.
yeah,
It's your
well,
first one. That's huge.
because I wrote it and I'm the creator and stuff like that. We can get a lot of the funding from the government in Australia because they incentivize to bring productions to our country, obviously. So and it's because it's in a regional part of Australia, you get this incentive from the federal and then the state and then the region that you're in. So there's all these little helpful ways to make that budget it's 15 million Australian too. So that's just $75 which is achievable. And so it's but it's it's pretty exciting and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Good. Well, I hope it turns out, man. We'll keep in touch. Thanks for hopping on board.
Always.
Monty,
Thanks, man.
everyone. Monty Franklin, everyone. Make sure you follow him on all his socials and all that. Monty Franklin.
Yeah, get on there. Come on.
All right. Have a good one, Monty.
Bye-bye.
I got this video from Sib. I guess his take on what happened.
Joe likes to talk. How long is this?
I don't believe it's that long. I think it's like 2 minutes.
Let me hear what Joe says. Joe says.
There we go.
Joe's entertaining.
Okay, so this is what happened. We all flew into Newark Airport. Monty, Breuer, and myself. I'm coming from California. Monty's coming from LA. And Jim's coming up from Florida. What the problem was, though, you got to remember this. Everyone's flight day that day was a nightmare. My flight got canceled. I had to book a new flight. Monty got stuck on a flight. Breuer came up from Florida and I think got another flight mixed up. But the bottom line was when we all landed at Newark, something was going on where no one could get to their gate. So we sat on our plane. I sat on my plane for 2.5 hours. Monty sat on his for like almost 3 hours. Breuer was on his plane for 2 hours. We were texting each other. So by the time we get to Hertz to get the car, because Breuer always rents at Hertz, he was already like, we were hungry, we were bummed. So we get in the car, we kind of like, all right, let's get out of here. But I don't know what was going on with Hertz. There's like 30 cars trying to leave and we're in a standstill. One guy checking everyone out. And at this point, Brewer's cool. We're joking around, typical starting the trip. But then this van cuts in front of everybody and tries to blow the line. And Breuer wasn't having it, man. And I've seen him get bummed, but I've never seen him he got bummed and he went over and just gave a talking to. And I don't know what he said, but I was kind of watching from the back. And Monty got out to find out why there was only one guy working there. So now I'm just sitting in the van by myself or in our car by ourselves. And all I remember is the van that Jim talked to about cutting in front of the line. They just backed up and started going against traffic. And they were like, we're out of here. So I don't know. He wasn't feeling it. All right. That's my version of the story, man.
Exactly where that went down. Oh my God. Anyway. We got some cool guests on the way. Reached out to some people. I can't thank you enough. This Breuniverse is growing and growing and growing, and the love and the support and the comments, and it's been overwhelming. Very kind. And I'm not a perfect human being. None of us are. I know in the beginning of this podcast, I came out swinging. But I'm really tired of the carnival. It's a carnival. And I pray to God everyone sees the carnival. And I pray to God everyone finds their morals and their faith, and they start concentrating on what's in front of them. You know, the problems of the world that are trying to pro-life, pro-choice, pro-life, pro-choice, Republican, Democrat, left-wing, right-wing, liberal, conservative, more guns, less guns, take them away, gun control. That's all to make you go, if you think of and I love the term of, it's a threat to our democracy. And I told you weeks before, every time they say democracy, replace it with the word our power. This is a threat to our power. Then it all makes a lot of sense. So concentrate on what we can. The beauty within, and how can you pollinate? How can you help everything around you? Because the more the world tries to infiltrate your head, and the politics, the professional wrestling, the tell a vision from all the programs, nightly programs are owned by like 4 people, all of it. You think you have choices? You don't. They're all the same little typewriters. Get out of the matrix, enjoy life, get in nature, take care of your body, take care of your mind, think for yourself. And if a situation comes up, especially if it's political, I want you to turn it all off and try to really think. Because most likely, the answers that come from your heart, your mind, are not even close to what these blabbers are trying to. It's madness. Turn off the madness. I love you guys, all of you. You're incredible people, and I hope to see you on the road. Go to jimbreuer.com for dates. I'd like to thank once again, I've seen people, Steve Byrne had really kind things to say about me. Joe Rogan had really kind things to say about me. Doug Stanhope, just thank you. Thank you for spreading the kindness. I love all those guys. I really do. I think through kindness and giving and loving and understanding and good conversation. Thank God for podcasts, because you need conversation, not political sound bites, just conversation. This is a great thing by Muhammad Ali. Play the Muhammad Ali clip I sent you.
At the end of your life, whether it was Allah who was saying it, Elijah Muhammad, or whether it was something that someone wrote about you after you'd gone, what's the thing you would most like people to say about your life? He was a great champion, or what? What would you like people to think about you when you've gone?
I'd like for them to say he took a few cups of love. He took 1 tablespoon of patience, 1 teaspoon of generosity, 1 pint of kindness. He took 1 quart of laughter, 1 pinch of concern, and then he mixed willingness with happiness. He added lots of faith, and he stirred it up well. Then he spread it over a span of a lifetime, and he served it to each and every deserving person he met.
Be safe, be well. We'll see you out there.
Jim,
Go on, Mike. What?
Jim, one more thing. For
Winner.
the contest winner, yes, we were unable to get a hold of the original one, so we moved to the next one, and that is Bozeman67 with a guess of 5,500. Also, for those who possibly want to get their voice out on the Breuniverse, you can go over to Jim's webpage, and right on the homepage, you go right down here to leave Jim a message, and you can hit reply and say a little something,
If you want to leave a message, leave a message like, hey, man, I love that you talked about this. Hey, I love you, Jim, but I don't like when you talk about this. Hey, Jim, I would love to get a guest of it. Hey, you should look into this. If you have suggestions, something you like, whatever it is, hey, I'm coming to see you, blah, 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 leave those. I love those. And try to keep them 30 seconds to 1 minute tops. And we'll play them here on the Breuniverse. I promise you. I'd love to hear the voices that are listening. So if you can do that, I'd love it. Otherwise, enjoy, safe journeys. Go to jimbreuer.com, leave a voice message. And Mike, thank you for all you do. And Annie, for all you do. And we'll catch you next week on the Breuniverse. Have a good one.
This is Jim Breuer, and I got my own Patreon page, and hopefully you'll check it out. Live comedy concert streamed once a month. Weekly, you host your own podcast, and you interview me. Early access to the Breuniverse podcast every single week, and I have bonus footage and bonus segments, and you get to access my last comedy special, Somebody Had to Say It. There's a lot there. I promise you I'm not going to let you down. Go check out my official Jim Breuer Patreon page, and I'll see you there.